I lost 70 pounds eating pizza, burgers, and mac and cheese. And no, that's not a joke. For years, I was told that losing weight meant giving up every single food that brought me joy. It meant a future of bland chicken, steamed broccoli, and salads that just made me sad. So, I tried it. I tried it over and over, and every single time I failed. I always ended up heavier and more miserable than when I started. So, I decided to try the exact opposite. What if instead of eating like a dieter, I ate like a kid again? What if I actually embraced the foods I loved instead of fearing them? The result completely shocked me. If you are tired of that endless cycle of restrictive diets, and you want to find a way to lose weight that you can actually stick with, you need to see this. I'm going to show you how I stopped punishing myself, started having fun, and found the real secret to weight loss that lasts. Let's rewind. Before all this, I was at my heaviest, and honestly, my lowest. I was 70 pounds overweight, and I felt every single ounce of it. Just getting out of bed felt like a chore. I'd catch my reflection in a shop window and not even recognize the tired, unhappy person looking back at me. I was trapped in a body that didn't feel like mine, and I was desperate for a way out. So, I did what we're all told to do. I went on a diet. In fact, I went on all of them. Low carb, no sugar, the one where you only drink weird juices that taste like grass clippings. Every diet started with this big burst of motivation. This is it, I tell myself. This is the one that's going to work. For a week, maybe 2, I'd be perfect. I'd weigh my food, count every calorie, and politely say, no thank you, to a slice of birthday cake at the office. I was miserable, but hey, I was losing a little weight, so I figured that was just the price I had to pay. The problem is, willpower only lasts so long. And mine always ran out. It would start with something small, a cookie, a handful of chips. But because I was in this all-or-nothing mindset, that one cookie felt like a total failure. My brain would just go, well, you've already ruined the diet for today, might as well go all in. And I would. That tiny slip-up would snowball into an all-out binge on everything I'd been forcing myself to avoid. The guilt that came after was just crushing. It was this toxic cycle of restriction, binging, and shame. Each failed attempt made me feel more like a failure, and I usually gained back any weight I'd lost, plus a few extra pounds just for good measure. I honestly started to believe that I just didn't have the discipline, that maybe I was just meant to be overweight because I loved food too much. My breaking point came on a random Tuesday night. I was standing in my kitchen, staring down at a sad, skinless chicken breast and a pile of limp asparagus. I was hungry, I was mad, and I was about to give up. Again. I thought about the pizza my friends were ordering. I thought about all the cheesy, gooey, comforting foods I actually wanted to eat, and a thought just popped into my head, born purely out of frustration. What if I just stopped fighting? What if I stopped seeing my cravings as the enemy? What if, instead of trying to banish all these bad foods, I just tried to make them better? The entire diet world had sold me this idea that only extreme measures work. But those extremes were so obviously not working for me. I realized the one thing all my failures had in common wasn't the food itself, but that feeling of deprivation. It felt like a crazy idea, like a rebellion. I thought, I'm going to eat the foods I loved as a kid, the fun foods, but I'm going to be smart about it. This wasn't going to be about restriction anymore. It was going to be an experiment in recreation. How could I have pizza but make it fit my goals? How could I have a burger without wrecking a week of progress? I had no idea if it would work, but I knew I couldn't face another bland chicken breast. For the first time in years, I felt a little flicker of hope. Not because I was starting another diet, but because I was finally giving myself permission to enjoy food again. This is where the magic really started. I stopped thinking about what I eat and started getting creative with what I eat. My kitchen basically became a fun food laboratory. Let's start with the big one, pizza, my ultimate weakness. Instead of ordering a greasy, calorie bomb takeout pizza, I started having a weekly pizza night at home. My healthy swap here was simple but a total game changer. I'd use a thin, whole wheat pita or a high-fiber tortilla as the crust. Then I'd load it up with tomato sauce, a sensible amount of low-fat mozzarella, and then just go wild with veggie toppings: peppers, mushrooms, onions, spinach. It was delicious. It completely satisfied my pizza craving, and it had a tiny fraction of the calories. I was having pizza that felt like a huge indulgence, but was actually packed with nutrients. Next up, burgers. I love a good burger. but the fast food versions were a massive calorie trap. So I started making my own. I'd use lean ground turkey or 90-10 lean ground beef, season it really well, and grill it instead of frying. I'd serve it on a whole wheat bun and pile it high with lettuce, tomato, and pickles. But I'd swap the sugary ketchup and mayo for mustard, or even a dollop of plain Greek yogurt mixed with spices. The result? A juicy, satisfying burger that felt like a treat, but was loaded with protein. And what about the ultimate childhood comfort food? Mac and cheese. The stuff from the box is a nostalgic dream, but not exactly a friend to your waistline. My secret weapon here was cauliflower. I know, but hear me out. I would boil and blend cauliflower until it was super smooth and creamy, and then mix that right into the cheese sauce. It made the sauce incredibly velvety and added a ton of volume and fiber for almost no calories. I'd use about half the cheese of a normal recipe and mix it all with whole grain pasta. You look down and see this big, comforting bowl of cheesy mac, but your body is secretly getting a huge dose of vegetables. Even my snacks got a kid-friendly makeover. Instead of greasy potato chips, I fell in love with air-popped popcorn. You can eat a massive bowl of it for very few calories. I'd spritz it with a little olive oil spray and toss it with different seasonings. If I wanted something sweet, instead of candy, I'd have a bowl of Greek yogurt with fresh berries and a tiny drizzle of honey, or an apple with a spoonful of peanut butter. These weren't diet foods. They were just smarter, more nutrient-packed versions of things I already loved. And the weight just started melting off consistently for the first time in my entire life. The solution, the secret I discovered. As the pounds disappeared, I realized the actual secret to all of this had nothing to do with a specific food or some magic pill. It was a few mindset shifts that changed everything for me. First, and this is the most important one, sustainable weight loss is about your mindset, not a meal plan. I had to stop thinking in terms of good foods and bad foods. A donut isn't evil. When you label food, you create guilt, and that guilt is what leads to that destructive all-or-nothing cycle. Instead, I started focusing on how food made me feel. The homemade pizza made me feel satisfied and happy. The greasy takeout pizza made me feel sluggish and regretful. My body actually started craving the foods that gave me energy and made me feel good. Second, I learned to embrace the power of adding, not subtracting. For years, my entire focus was on what I had to cut out. This new approach was all about what I could add to my plate. Could I add more veggies to my pizza? Could I add a side salad to my burger? Could I add more protein to breakfast to stay full longer? Shifting from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance was a complete game changer. Third, I finally understood that portion control isn't restriction, it's just awareness. Using a smaller plate for my mac and cheese or measuring out a single serving of nuts instead of eating from the bag wasn't a punishment. It was just me being mindful and respecting my body's actual hunger signals. It's what allowed me to enjoy these richer foods regularly, because the dose made sense. The goal isn't to never eat cake again. It's to not eat the whole cake in one sitting. And finally, I started living by the mantra, consistency over perfection. I realized that one off-plan meal didn't ruin everything. If I went out with friends and had a few slices of real deal pizza and a beer, I didn't beat myself up. I just enjoyed it. The next day, I got right back to my normal routine. It's what you do most of the time that counts, not what you do some of the time. Giving myself that grace is what allowed me to live my life and still make incredible progress. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. This sounds too good to be true. You can't just eat pizza and lose 70 pounds. And in a way, you're right. I wasn't eating Domino's every night. The key isn't just I ate, but I ate it. This wasn't a free-for-all on junk food. It was about making smart, intentional substitutions. It was about me taking control of the ingredients, the cooking methods, and the portion sizes. Baking instead of frying, using whole grains, and loading up on vegetables. These things dramatically change the nutritional profile of a meal. At the end of the day, weight loss always comes down to being in a consistent calorie deficit. The reason this method worked so well for me is that it made being in that deficit feel effortless. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't deprived. I wasn't constantly fighting cravings. I was just eating delicious, satisfying food that also happened to be lower in calories and higher in nutrients. That's the part that diet culture always gets wrong. You don't have to suffer to see results. In fact, the more you enjoy the process, the more likely you are to stick with it long enough to actually hit your goals. So that's my story. That's how I stopped dieting, embraced my inner kid, and lost 70 pounds for good. I didn't just change my body, I healed my relationship with food. I learned that you don't have to choose between reaching your goals and enjoying your life. You absolutely can have both. It's all about balance, creativity, and shifting your mindset from punishment to self-care. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this: you are not a failure. Your past diets failed you. You don't need more willpower. You need a plan that's more sustainable and a lot more fun. And now I want to hear from you. What's the one food you've been told you have to give up that you just can't imagine living without? Drop it in the comments below. Let's prove that a healthy life and a flavorful life can absolutely go hand in hand. And if you want more tips, healthy swaps, and recipes that make weight loss feel fun, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and remember to be kind to yourself. You've got this.